Oh, my God has shown me so great to be praised. No more fear, no more grief. He showed me something else, and it gave me the key. The key. Now here is from me. Know you the truth, and the truth will set you. You'll be so free.
Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen wa Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim wa ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. Dear brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Thank you for joining us this morning for Universal Dimensional Leadership. Alhamdulillah, we just broadcast yesterday's recording of the live Jum'ah from Masjid al-Warathin here in Oakland, California. Alhamdulillah, thank you for being with us this morning. As always, we love to hear from you before we begin our Saturday's class. So just punch up 1 on your phone. Have respect for the fact that we have more content to add for the broadcast, and there are also others that have comments that they would like to make. But we always have been benefiting from your comments, your feedback, your insight, your perspective. So come on with it. Don't be shy. We want you to share what you sense, what you know, any kind of illumination that comes for you by virtue of what we have. So that's the offer. As always, take advantage of it. Here's my dear brother Mark. He always is on the front row, stepping up. Brother Mark, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. How you doing, man?
Alaikum assalam, rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. To you, Imam Fahim Shuaib, and to your very astute radio listening audience. This is Mark Shaheed from the STL, the gateway city of St. Louis, and the Show Me State of Missouri. I want to say alhamdulillah, that the praise and thanks belongs to Allah first and foremost. And once again, I want to commend you on an excellent khutbah as you begin a new series here. And I'm anxiously looking forward to the subsequent khutbahs in this series in terms of looking at the significance of Taqwa. And I don't know how you form the rest of that topic in terms of the game of life.
I got some humor for you after that. But go ahead. What you said? Go ahead.
Okay. You know, as a wordologist, I've been using that word significance. For quite a few years now, looking at it, if I can see, and that really is the way we should look at significance. But just to make a few comments on so much substantive information in the khutbah, it's excellent khutbah. You know, even in, I would say, the introductory of this new series, very important. You know, when you were speaking in the khutbah, you know, in terms of the pattern itself and how we have the pattern and all, I was thinking about something that Imam Muhammad had taught us in terms of looking at the macrocosm and the microcosm. And he said that the objective material world, which you were referring to as the universe, is a sign of the microcosm, which is the spiritual world of man, which is what is inside of the human being, which is inside of the human being, which is also the social life of the human being. And relating that and seeing that this objective material world in the pattern in which it was created, as you said, that allowed to produce the human creation, the similarity that was given in terms of that pattern is that the objective material world or the universe itself is obedient to what God's will and design for it. And so looking at that as a sign in terms of the spiritual world of man, or what Allah has created inside of man, we look at the abstract in terms of the soul as you reference in Surah Al-Shams, is that internal world or that spiritual world or abstract world should reflect what is seen in the objective material world. And so that pattern is the same, and it should be of obedience. So when we talk about the rules and the regulation, you understand, which is perfect in terms of Al-Islam, for the success, it becomes the obedience to the rules and regulation, and as you so eloquently articulated in just sports and games that we know, and sometimes we enjoy. I do love basketball, and I do love football, and I love baseball. But they all have rules and regulations, so you have to respect the rules and regulations. Even in boxing, the legendary boxing champion Muhammad Ali, he had to respect the rules and regulations that's in there to have success. And so in the game of life, we also have to respect and obey the rules and regulations. It is Almighty God Allah who gives us the rules and the regulations for the success of life. I could go on, but I guess I really will stop there. This is an excellent topic, and I so look forward to the subsequent khutbahs in this series that you just begun. May Allah continue to bless you and us, and I'll be getting in touch with you very soon in regards to another appearance on the Courtship and Marriage Learning Lab, as we now are on principle of intimacy and all. Thank you so much, Brother Imam. I really appreciate all that you do in terms of helping to facilitate the thought-provoking topics and the educational part that we so desperately need in our life to have a successful life. Thank you, and may Allah continue to bless you and us richly. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you as always, Brother Mark. Alhamdulillah. We move on to, I got to change my screen.
What was that funny? What was that humorous you had, brother?
Oh, yeah. Good. Maybe that was what I couldn't switch my screen.
I'm laughing. I'm smiling. I don't even know what the humor is that you had for me.
Yeah. You know, we have similar humor, right? So my wife, alhamdulillah, we were, riding after Juma, and then I don't know, we started talking about the title, right? My producer, Mahir, I needed to restate the title of the topic for him, so he could add it to the Vimeo stream that we have. And every time I stumbled over the title a little bit, and then when my wife asked me, and I stumbled over it a little bit, and then then she said, why don't you just say the game of life, right? Taqwa and the game of life, which is what I wound up changing it to, right? But this is what the original title was, and I know you'll appreciate this, as will others. With the Nation of Islam, we used to be called the Lost Found Nation of Islam in the Wilderness of North America. That was the whole original title, right? And then it got dropped down to the Nation of Islam. Then it just got dropped down to the nation, right? Just said the nation. Everybody knew what you were talking about, right? And so the joke that I came with in the car with my wife is that I was trying to give the whole Khutbah in the title, right? Because I had said the significance of the significance. See, I'm still having trouble with it. The significance of the Taqwa. You know what? I lost it. That's how sure God is saying, no, that's not the right title. I had Taqwa, the Al-Islam game of life, right? The significance of Taqwa in the Al-Islam game of life. The significance of Taqwa in the Al-Islam game of life. And so by the time you explain the whole title, I mean, the khutbah is in the title, but you can see how difficult it is to remember. So that's not the right way, not the right way to label it. So the title now formally is Taqwa and the Game of Life. Taqwa and the Game of Life. So that is, just like putting too many toppings on a pizza, man. So you gotta set a limit on it. All right.
Well, thank you so much for that, because you helped me, in regards to, because I was after the significance of Al-Islam. After the significance of Taqwa, I kind of got a little confused on
that's a real sign that is bad. That real sign is bad. If it's a challenge for a wordologist like you, said, man, there's too much in there, right? Let it go. All right.
Thank you so much, buddy. Man, I appreciate that.
Likewise. Alhamdulillah. Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah. Imam Nazim, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, brother Imam, and listen, audience. I just had a couple of quick observations, and I had a question.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the things that I really wanted to mention, and it's sort of a reminder, well, it's not sort of it's a reminder to us and probably even to you. One of the things that I take away, and I've been a law student of Imam Muhammad, and yourself, is that you're gonna not get just a feel good message. You're not just gonna get taught the rituals. You're not just going to be given a certain verse from the Quran. You're going to be given an application,
sure,
like you were just saying, that becomes a meta application, because it's going to be applied that way. And then you look at it again, maybe even 2 minutes later or 5 years later, and you see another application. I mean, you just don't get that in the average community, Muslim or non-Muslim. And if you're not careful, you'll overlook it, because he's giving the general lecture. Yeah, but he's giving you some tools to take home with you later on that you can use after the Juma commercial. And like we all are going to meet our maker one day. So after he's gone, you still got stuff that you didn't have before you, came into the community. And that is just such a special blessing that it escapes us sometimes. That's all I'm trying to say. And I'm saying today to remind us, don't let that escape you, the value of what you're really getting. And it does something that you just said at the end of the Khutbah. Now you can add value to yourself, your family, and your community because of what you got, if you really are paying attention.
Alhamdulillah. I know you have another comment, but I wanna just interject right there in what you're saying, because like you're saying that you don't want people to miss a point, and I don't want the point to be missed on top of the point that you made, or to add to the point that you made. See, it's like you say you're a student of Imam Warthadi Muhammad, as I have been for the years during his lifetime, and it continues. His knowledge continues to serve us now. And we talked about that pyramid. We talk about that apex. We talk about being on the top of it, and being on top of your game. But then for whatever game that you're in, there is a model for the game that you're in. Imam Muhammad is my model, and the model of many the model of many. Please don't think everything. I'm not you. Just don't think that every time I say something, it's like you ought to be paying attention to me because I'm the real one that's in touch with the game of Imam. No, Imam left a lot of seeds that have grown very, very well in many, many areas. And so I'm saying Imam Muhammad is a model. So for as far as the information aspect of it, and there are others, but for the information aspect of it, that very thing that you described is my intention and motivation, and that's my modeling of what the Imam did. That's what he did. He gave us what he could give us, but he gave it to us that in a way that, look, I'm not going to give you the standard stuff. I'm going to give you stuff that goes beyond what the standard stuff is. I'm not rejecting the standard stuff, but I'm giving you something that the others can't give you because this is what I have been given. And if you take what I'm giving you and you look into it further, I'm not going to get Imam. I can't give you all the details now, but if you take the hints that I'm saying and take it a step further, you'll see that there's a whole world behind what I have said to you. Now go that way. That's the Imam. So all the criticism about not fitting into the classical scholastic imagery and that wasn't the game Imam Muhammad, quote unquote, was playing. So I'll stop there, but go ahead.
No, and then the other thing was that I heard that song again, and it just brought back so many memories, and it made me want to say, hey, now what if I could put that on my, player and play that, and maybe I'm down, maybe I just want to hear some good, wholesome words in a CD or whatever. But anyway, I wanted to get the name of it
Truly
again,
Free.
and I wanted to get
Truly Free.
Truly Free. Okay, now
that's Hijra.
Yeah, is there a place that you go ahead?
No, I was just saying, is Hijra truly free?
Yeah, okay. So is there a place other than your own recording of it that I can get that or get access to it? Because it's
yeah, mashallah. No, I talked to Taha just I see him on a regular basis, the ex-husband of Da'i and member of Hijra. He doesn't have the master for it anymore. It doesn't, and it hasn't been reproduced. So inshallah, I guess the only thing I can do, I can do a link and shoot it to you. You know how you get BoxNet, a BoxNet link,
right?
And I can send you that,
right?
And then inshallah, work it out from there.
So the other last, yes sir, alhamdulillah. Other last question. You don't think it's something that might have made it to YouTube, do you?
No, I don't think so. No, I don't think so.
Okay.
All right. But inshallah, if I find another way,
sir.
We'll be in touch. I'll get you.
All right. Thank you. Alhamdulillah.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. All right. Alhamdulillah. Thank you both for your comments. Okay. So we're going to go on. It appears that there are no others awaiting to make comments. All right. Alhamdulillah, Brother Mark did a very, very excellent job of speaking to the essence of the points that we made in yesterday's khutbah. And so Saturday we have a little more latitude. Yeah, let's put it like that. A little more latitude in the context of being able to spend more time elaborating on things. And so, as things can sometimes get a little academic, maybe, which is not a bad thing, but you remember Imam Muhammad's comments that every system has a benefit, and in order to get the benefit of a system, you have to think in terms of function. And anytime you're not thinking in terms of function, then you're thinking in a diseased way. So that means then, I just got a note from Zakia Nu'man. She says it is on YouTube. So alhamdulillah. Thank you, Zakia. Alhamdulillah. So check out YouTube, Truly Free, and inshallah, that's good. See, that's good work. Some people have to do it. And it's good that we be networked too. Big knowledge in that. Metcalf's Law. Look that up. Metcalf's, Metcalf, Metcalf's Law. That's important because that just happened. Because she's on our network, because we are networked, and because somebody else had put it on a platform, now that knowledge is able to reach more people. And that's what we have to do with all the good things that we have. We have to make them accessible to everybody in our network so that we can all benefit. All right. So, alhamdulillah, so good. Thank you so much. So let's walk a little more. There's a little more of a framework for the concept that's driving and that will be driving the subject itself, and that is game is, if there was, well, actually Taqwa is the main thing that I'm trying to quote unquote drive home with us for the practical. You can hear in the word practical practice, right? So we can practice whatever it is that conceptually we've accepted. Okay, how do you put that into practice, right? So taqwa, the main thrust, the main objective, the Islamic ideal that we're aiming for in that word and through that word and with that word is knowing what taqwa is and knowing how to exercise that in our everyday life, right? The analogy, yes, I'll say the analogy that we're using for the practical application of taqwa, the analogy that we're using for the practical application of taqwa is game, Game. All right. Let's understand what, in reality, what analogy is. Now, those of you who are at the level where, you might be a student of social science, a student of psychology, a student of linguistics. I'm talking about maybe you're in college, maybe at college level, maybe you're working on your undergrad, your postdoc, doctorate, master's degree, and that this is critical. This is critical knowledge for that. So I've mentioned to you. So those of you who you feel that appetite. I've already told you about Hofstadter, Douglas Hofstadter, Hofstadter. There was a book, a recent book that I had mentioned for. I'm not remembering the title of it right now, but Hofstadter. It has something to do with forms and shapes or something like that. But he is really the paragon for understanding the concept of analogy itself, in the world, okay? So what he says that when we use analogies, we're building intellectual bridges from one mind into another. When we use analogies, we're building intellectual bridges from one mind into another. So an analogy is a bridge. So analogy is you take something concrete in order to better understand something abstract. But you take something concrete that the person that you're talking to already understands. All right. And so you say, okay, how could I put this in their language? This is nothing but Quran too. Sometimes we get it going forward, sometimes we get it going backwards. Holy Quran 14:4, 14th chapter, 4th verse. Quran says, never does Allah send a messenger, but speaking the language of the people to whom they are sent. Sticking with the theme of practical application of what we know from the religion, right? So, Quran, certain. Sahih hadith, right? And hadith that are acceptable to be used. When you get information now, okay, what is the practical use? What is the application? How can that knowledge be transferred to application somewhere else? Okay. All right. So the idea that speaking the language of the people to whom he is sent, it does not only apply to send a Chinese language person to a Chinese language person, an English language person to an English language person. No. A religious language person to a religious language person, a secular language person to a secular language person, etc. And if you want to talk to somebody and you know their language is secular language, then you have to communicate to them in secular terms, right? And so on and so forth. So it's an axiom, it's a principle to be applied, but don't just apply it on one plane. Apply it wherever it applies. So okay. So when you do analogies, that's what you are also doing. So now here's the wisdom, and we just express it. Now I can express it just more concretely. Whoever you're talking to, the more important the conversation is, the more critical it is for you to know what their language is. Brother Mark talks about the couple, the marriage learning lab, right? We all who are in that area, we think about love languages, right? Love languages. You should, if you're in it, you should have some idea about love language, right? So do you know your mate's love language? Do you know? I mean, they're different. I'm not going to go into it. The point is that in order to communicate best with them, that's it. Also, we talk about genderlects, right? Genderlects. There's a dialect for English, for French, for German, etc. So also, but between males and females, there's also genderlect, right? So it's like when you talk to the female, you have to understand her genderlect in order to communicate more effectively with her, and vice versa for the female. All right. So anybody, that I'm saying all this to say that whoever it is that you're talking to, and again, the more important the communication is, the more important it is for you to understand their language. Now, once you understand their language, then you can just start using analogies from their language set, right? It's meaning you know what this is. So therefore, I'm going to use that you can put an X on when I say you know what X is. And so I'm going to use X to tell you about Y. But right now, you don't know Y. So therefore, I'm going to tell you that Y is like X. Now the person who didn't know anything about Y, they can say, oh, it's like that. Oh, yeah. So now you have built a bridge, an intellectual bridge from your mind to their mind. So what does that do? That increases understanding between you and them, right? Why? Because you spoke to them in their language, analogically speaking, okay? This is very, very important. So all this goes back to what? Trying to explain what am I trying to do with Taqwa and game. Taqwa and game. Taqwa is abstract. Taqwa is abstract. Language of Imam Wadili Muhammad. Remember, you have to, if you are a student of Imam Wadili Muhammad, if you are someone who is subscribing and a part of the distributive, what's called distributive cognitive network that follow the language of Imam Wadili Muhammad, then you have to know that language, right? So you have to keep adding to that. So when we say abstract in the vernacular, in the lexicon of Imam Wardini Muhammad, if you say something is abstract, and you say, well, how do you know what is abstract? Well, he said, whatever doesn't give weight in your hand, whatever doesn't give weight in your hand. It's like, that's the answer, right? And what does he do? He's speaking to us in very, very fundamental 5 sense language. That's the blessing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed us with through him, because he can take something complex and make it simple. And we have to, just like I joked about that long title that I had put on the subject originally. It's like, no, you be careful. Don't make the simple complex. You have to learn how to make the complex simple. That's just one instance, and this is a self-effacing example. I think I do pretty good otherwise. It's just one of those cases where it's like, nah, it's a little too much. So the idea is abstract. So we're making 2 points right now. One is the issue of analogy, right? The role of analogy. And the other is to point out why we are making that analogy, right? So the analogy is between abstract and game, right? Why? Because abstract taqwa and game. Because taqwa is abstract, game is concrete, right? Taqwa, we don't know as well because of our experience. Taqwa, meaning the full understanding of it, we don't know as well as we know the term game, right? With game, we all have played different games, so we have concrete, explicit experience with game, so we know how game works. So that's known, right? So you want to learn and see how to apply that is known to something that is unknown. And that's the benefit of what is known. It can help you to know what you don't know, right? But how is that going to happen? It can best happen. It can best happen. Human beings do it all the time. We do it unconsciously. The best is draw an analogy between the unknown and the known. Who's going to do that? The one who gets an idea. So those of you who have been in touch with a clear understanding .institute, then you have seen the piece that we did on intuition, which is continuing down the road, and another segment coming real soon. But intuition. So first there's intuition, and those of you who are with us on our Sunday broadcast where we talked about inarticulate feelings, right? So intuition is a feeling, but it's inarticulate, right? It doesn't quite have the words or the language to express it, right? But then when you come up with an idea, when you get some idea of what the intuition is, now it begins to take form. So now the abstract becomes concrete when it moves from intuition to idea, right? So once you have an idea, so the idea gives you an object that you can use to make that intuition, that abstract, more concrete. And so all that is to say, it's like, see, there's certain people at certain levels of whatever it is we're talking about. Everything I'm saying, it happens in the field of science, in the field of education, in the field of economics, in the field of government, in the field of whatever, in every field. Intuition, idea, object becomes the analogy for the intuition of something that was abstract. Now the analogy being made, or the object, is used now to bring more people who understand the concrete but don't quite understand the abstract. Well, then the one who comes up with the idea and the object that analogizes the abstract, they tell the others, say, look, it's like this, blah, 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 blah. And because the people know that that's used, they say, oh, we get it, brother and sister. That's what happened with everything, really. Atoms, atoms, quantum physics, everything. There's what I can't think of his name. Mashallah, I'm just running right now. Came up with the analogy. This is how your brain. That when I say this, Blog Talk, you can't see, but I'm holding up my hand. It said, if you want to understand your how your brain is structured, use the hand. Fold the thumb inside into the palm, and then fold the fingers over the thumb, and you have an image of the brain. You have the frontal cortex, you have the limbic system, the primitive brain, and the brain stem. Say your brain is just like that fist, just like that fist. Okay, so everybody who has a hand, of course, that works. They can make a fist, etc. And now the person can tell them, I want you to understand your brain. Your brain, something you can't see and something you don't know about, is structured like this. So your prefrontal cortex is like the fingers that's going over. The limbic system, primitive brain, is like the thumb that's inside. And then the brain stem and the spinal cord goes down the rest of it. That's an analogy, right? So what he's trying to make something that's complex, make it simple, to communicate an idea that the person who has no idea of it, but then when you get an idea that can, from which or upon which or through which a bridge can be built from the mind of the one who knows to the mind of the one that don't know or doesn't know. Excuse me. That's how you do it. All right. So I want you to own that. Okay. So now when you find yourself in communication with someone and you're trying to get the point across to them, you really want them to understand it, right? Then consciously ask yourself, now, what is an analogy for what I'm trying to say? What is an analogy for what I'm trying to say? What is what I'm trying to say like? What is what I'm trying to say like in concrete terms? All right. I got something I'm trying to get them to understand, but it's kind of nebulous in the way from their perspective because it's a little too abstract, a little too complex. How can I simplify it and still be true enough to get into the conversation with? This is another acquired definition of abstract. Abstract is the truth without details. Another way of adding to that is low definition, right? Truth without details is like, it's the truth, but that's not, you don't have the details, right? As the Imam, rahimahullah alayhi, the Imam taught us the truth, but he didn't give us all the details. So yeah, for some people, what Imam Muhammad was saying at so many levels and about so many things, it was too abstract. For them, mashallah, Allahu alam, I'm not going to be an apologist for this, that, or the other. I can't explain why people don't understand and why people do understand. I don't know. Allah decides who will understand what, right? But the point is that, and there's also reality. Here's reality, man. Reality is, look, certain high concepts can only come down so far. It's like you bring it down so far, it's meaningless. It's no longer whatever it was at the high level because you brought it down so much. MashaAllah, alhamdulillah, rabbil alameen. I'm going to continue to emphasize the greatness and by the grace of Allah, of Imam Muhammad for us. That's what he told us is the meaning of dust. Okay, dust. See, dust, he says, is particles of something that was once whole. Allahu Akbar. Dust is a particle of something. Particles of something that was once whole, right? So you can have an idea, man. Yeah, break it down, brother. Okay, you break it down, but by the time you break it down so much, it's like it's nothing but dust, right? And so that's useless. That's useless in terms of that, right? Don't talk to me about Adam was created from dust right now. I'm just a little joke thrust I'm throwing in there. But yeah, it means that too. It means that too. But I don't want to get too much further away. So the idea is that that we are working to draw the analogy between taqwa and game. Now, as you have seen in all that we speak to, it's all well. Let me clarify. Well, clarify. Continue to add to it because I want you to understand because we are going to delve further, deeper, higher into it. So I have to say this. Okay, the idea of game and metagame. The idea of game and metagame. So we're already saying that, yeah, we can get into the conversation by saying, you know what a game is. So it's like, okay, that's known. It's like known. And one of the scientific terms for man, we have Homo erectus and Homo habilis and Homo sapien and Homo sapien sapien. One of the other scientific terms for man is Homo ludens. Homo ludens. Homo ludens actually means the game playing creature. Homo ludens, game. Why? Because games are critical. You know, play when it comes to children and game, very scientific significance of that. And there's an ocean of knowledge and all of that. But I'm going to stay close to where I am right now. So game and metagame, right? So so there's the big game, and then there's the game inside of the game, right? So we even as we talk about this term game, now I want you to be clear. We're talking about it in the scientific and historic way, scientific and historic way. There's this saying. It's not whether you win or lose, but it's how you play the game. It's not whether you win or lose, but it's how you play the game. These sayings, these proverbs, these cliches, you could call them also, not only a negative reference when we say cliche, they have merit. And the older they are and the longer they stand in a given culture, that lets you know the more important they are. Those things that are not important, that are not significant, that no longer carry the weight that they used to carry, is because they're no longer useful in the society as it has evolved. But if a saying still has merit and is used in a society, it's because it was born of merit, it has merit, and for the society that continues to use it. So it's not whether you win or lose with how you play the game. That's not a foreign statement to us. That's not an old saying in the sense of, oh, I haven't heard that in a long time. No, it's still pretty current. Why? Because it's true. It's true. It's true for what? It's true for the metagame. It's true for the metagame. Okay, so the game could be baseball. The game could be football. The game could be whatever, hockey, basketball. It could be checkers. It could be wrestling. It could be tag. It could be hide and seek. You understand? It could be any game, right? It could be the Wall Street game, right? You're doing business with people, the business game. It could be the government game. It could be any game. It's not whether you win or lose. It's how you play the game. Why is that important? One of the first orders of appreciation and understanding of its of the importance of that saying, you see it in children's socialization. You see it in children's socialization. And those are the ones that hear it most often, or we treat them and we deal with them upon that proverb. Well, it doesn't matter whether you win or lose. It's how you play the game, right? Usually trying to console them from a loss. All right. You did good. You did your best. You did it up. Children's socialization. I already told you, and it's true, that if your child is not socialized by the time they're 4 years old, they're pretty much done for the rest of their life. Listen, if your child is not socialized by the time they're 4 years old, they're pretty much done for the rest of their life. You can count on some kind of real bad scenario coming out of that person, right? Why? Well, socialization is something, 17 chapter 84th verse of the Quran, right? Everyone acts according to the way that they've been socialized, right? So socialization is critical to all behavior, I talked to you about individualistic psychology and the idea that people make the mistake of searching for the reason that a person is the way that they are by looking into that individual, when in fact it's not the individual that does the thinking, but it's the community that the individual was socialized in that's doing their thinking. They're thinking the way that they're thinking because that's the way that they were socialized. So it's not them individually. Their psychology is a product of their socialization. And also the hadith of the Prophet says the same thing. Everyone is born al-fitr. They're born with that original nature, but it's their culture that makes them otherwise. All right. So how does that bear on the child? If the child is not socialized by the time they're 4 years old, is this. Because one of the ways that children get socialized is by other children. Other children socialize other children. Mashallah, alhamdulillah, we're blessed with grandchildren and very young grandchildren. And you can see them socializing each other. You can see each layer passing on who they are and what they are and the rules of the game of life to the younger ones. And you can see the little ones chasing around and imitating and following the older ones. They're getting the language, they're getting the etiquette, and all the rest of that. Okay, well let's stay with the game side of it. Okay, when you play games, right? So when they play games, play is a child's work, and play is the child, meaning, and it's the work that they love to do too. But as they play, what they're doing, they are building the repertoire of skills that they're going to need in order to live on, right? So they're actually, it's wax on, wax off, So that's how they do that. And it's a blessing when you have children of young age operating with each other. If it's in the family, alhamdulillah, it's most excellent, usually. But then even when you're out in the public school, not always the best, or even private school settings, doesn't matter. The point is they have another group for socialization. All right, so it's not whether you win or lose, but how you play the game. Okay, so how does the child that we have in mind, how well do they play the game? Now, if they start playing the game and then they don't play according to the rules as expected, and children they'll play games and they'll make up the rules, right? Well, boys more than girls will make up rules as they go, but the point is assuming that there is rules to the game, and one child is trying to teach the other child how to play the game, but then the other child that is supposed to be the learner does not cooperate with the teacher child. Then they don't. Then pretty soon, once the child does that with the other one, I don't want to play with you no more. So then they leave them, right? And so then let's say this child who's supposed to be the learner child, they get my ebonics is really coming out. I'll use that word. They get with another child where they're supposed to be the learner, and the other is trying to teach them, but then they go off the same way. I mean, they don't play according to the rules as expected in the game that they're playing with the next child. They say, I don't want to play with you no more. Okay, so somewhere down the road, everybody said, we don't play with him. We don't play with her because she don't do right. He don't do right. Okay, so now they don't want to be bothered with this child anymore. So that's that. The socialization is beginning to stop right there. Okay, so now that child goes over to somebody's house. It's like, this is my friend. I want to go over to JoJo's house. Okay, you go to JoJo's house. Okay, you go over there and you start tearing up stuff. You stop following the rules. You're only 3 years old, or 4 years old, or whatever, and you stop that. Then pretty soon, no, they can't come over our house. They stop getting invited to the party, stop being invited to the house, people stop playing with them, and what happened? Now the socialization stops. And when the socialization stops, now what happens? Whatever. I mean, nowadays you'll get socialized by the whatever's on, you have these little devices, that they learn from the TV. I mean, we thought TV was bad. Man, what they can pick up on these platforms, the YouTube and all the other stuff, and all the 3,000 channels, and man, when that becomes that becomes their teacher, that becomes their socializer. When they register and feel affinity for some dangerous character, and not only that, there are actual websites that invite that kind of psychology to the screen, and the rest is history. So in terms of it's not it's not whether you win or lose, but how you play the game. And when it comes to the idea of playing the game, now we're speaking in terms of the best. So the idea is that we are in our paradigm, the Islamic paradigm is, okay, always strive for excellence. Always do your best, be the best, follow the rules, cooperate. All of those, these are our values, these are our paradigm. That's the way that we play the game. Any game, Muslims, any game that Muslims play. Because what happens when you do play with that child that does get socialized, right? That child that does cooperate, that child that does learn from others, that child that does play according to the rules, they're going to get rich connections. They're going to have a lot of friends. They're going to have a lot of connection. They're going to get a lot of learning. There's going to be a larger network that is welcoming them and that is molding and shaping their identity and giving them the best compliments, the best attention, the best resources, the invitations to the best, right? Why? Because of how they played the game. And the way they played the game enriched them. And so then everything feeds on itself. So you have a positive feedback loop that you keep going up and up and up and up, right? So that's why square one is socializing our children in the best way, and also teaching them the best games and the best way to play the games. And as I conclude for this morning, my Jewish brothers and sisters, they're really on dreidel. That's just a word that comes to mind right now. Look it up if you like. Dreidel, and that game, and many games. Man, mashallah, I had a book of Jewish games and I lost them. I lost touch with the book. I don't know what happened to it, but I'll have to look it up again, because brother and sister, my Jewish brothers and sisters, they understand what I'm telling you right now. They understand that. And the games that are played are games that extend beyond whatever the board or the field of play or however that game is played. It goes to Wall Street. It goes to the ivory towers. It goes global. Same game, right? So we need to learn how. We need to understand the nature of games, understand the metagame. The metagame of Al-Islam is the best game of all times. It is. Okay, it's the GOAT. Al-Islam is the GOAT, the game of all times, right? MashaAllah. Inshallah, with Allah's grace and help, we'll be able to get to the end of that comment in the series. All right, so I'm gonna cut my comments there. One more shot for any brief comments before we just sign out. Blog Talk, you can push one on your phone and do so. And inshallah, we'll look forward to getting with you. Anybody who has comments, inshallah. What do we have here? Hopefully I didn't kill my own screen. No, I'm good. All right, alhamdulillah. Everybody have a wonderful day. Allah's peace be on you. We'll go out with Truly Free today. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
It's been a long time, and you've not yet found that peace of mind. It seems like you've been searching for a long time. I finally got myself together. You see, I found the life that's so much better. Now my life is so happy, so fine. And it's all because my God has shown me just like clay in a potter's hand. My life was being shaped by things I could not understand. I thought that I was perfect, could not find my purpose for being healed. I was with love, and all the bad. Confusion was on my head till I learned that God sent me to be responsible and free. No more love, no more pretending. Now my life is just beginning. And it's all because I showed me the way to see.
90 seconds.
Had showed me the way to be free. No more fear, no more grief. He showed me happiness, and it gave me the key. The key to the good life.
60 seconds.
I know you've got to run, but when you get tired of running, I know where you can go. You had me there for so long. and the truth will set you